Yeah, basically, Amazon has an automated system that detects these restricted keywords. So whenever you use a restricted keyword, even though you don't know which that one is, the listing will get taken down from Amazon immediately.
This is the E-commerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Braintrust podcast. I'm Kiri Masters, and I'm joined again by Julie Spear.
Hi, Kiri.
So we're both from BOBSLED Marketing, an agency that helps brands with their Amazon channel. And today we're running an interview with another team member from BOBSLED, Armin Ellis-Paig. We had it on the show last week. And this week we're talking with him again about what to do when Amazon prohibits your keywords. And this is a really interesting topic. It's sort of indicative of a whole lot of other product and category sensitivities that Amazon has. So I don't want to give too much away before we get into the interview, but it sort of begs a bigger question that Julie and I will talk about when we come back to do the recap after the interview.
It's a good hook. Now I'm intrigued and really want to listen about, see if I can identify this bigger question.
Before we get into the interview, Julie, is there anything that you want to prime our listeners' attention for?
I think it's just being open to listening to the machine that is Amazon, an appreciation of the machine that is Amazon, because I think this topic that you and Armin dig into, it shows just how much the sellers and vendors have some limited control when Amazon does sweeps of listings. And so I think listen with an open mind and an appreciation of the machine that is Amazon so that you can define your approach or your response when Amazon dings you after one of their sweeps without feeling too overwhelmed.
Like it's personal. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point.
It's the complete antithesis of personal. We wish it was a little more personal because then maybe resolutions would be easier.
Great point. Well, let's get into the interview, and then Julie and I will come back with a recap following. Welcome back, Armin.
Thank you, Kiri. Happy to be here again.
So you were on the show last week talking about vendor and seller fee reimbursements, and I wanted to have you back on the show to talk about a touchy subject. I think there's going to be a little bit of debate here, but what to do when Amazon has an issue with some of the keywords in your product listing. And so these are going to be sort of trigger words that they are, there's certain products that they have banned and they don't like to see any keywords related to those banned products. And also keywords can trigger things like hazardous material reviews and things like that. But before we get into that, I just wanted to mention at BOBSLED, we're a fully remote company, and Armin's been on the team for 2.5 years. We met face-to-face for the first time almost 6 months ago in Athens, where we had a company retreat. And it was the first time that all of our European team got together in person. But you're originally from, and you now live in Bosnia and Herzegovina in a city called Zenica. So tell us a little bit about Zenica.
Yes, so Zenica is a town in mid-Bosnia, so it's very close to the capital, Sarajevo. Yeah, it's a town with around 100,000 citizens, and I grew up here. I finished elementary, secondary school here as well, and also I graduated from the university here.
Cold place, right?
During
you were saying
during the winters, it's very cold. We have a lot of hills and mountains here, so it can get rather windy as well.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, skiing is an attraction here.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you again next year. I just announced to the team that everyone's going to be packing up their suitcases and passports and heading over to where I've been based for the last year, which is Medellin, Colombia. And there is quite a lot of excitement from everyone on the team about heading to South America for the first time for most people.
Yeah, it will be super exciting.
Well, let's get into today's topic now. So what to do when Amazon prohibits your keywords, or there's some kind of trigger mechanism going on with your keywords. How do we know that Amazon is doing this?
Yeah, basically, Amazon has an automated system that detects these restricted keywords. So whenever you use a restricted keyword, even though you don't know which that one is, the listing will get taken down from Amazon immediately. So wherever you put it, be it in backend, front end, titles, bullets, descriptions, anywhere, Amazon bots will scan it and your product page will just, turn into that dog page, and that's it.
So let's say Amazon, they don't allow like vapes or vape related paraphernalia to be sold on Amazon. Let's say you've got some keywords in there and one of them is vape. Amazon won't even tell you that that's why they've suspended your product. You don't even know what the keyword is.
You have to do an audit of all the keywords you've been changing and identify those that are potentially, taking down the listing.
So we don't even know exactly which keywords Amazon prohibits. We just know if they suspend your product listing, and then you have to work really hard to get it reinstated, take out all the keywords, and then you have to basically do trial and error to figure out what the keyword is.
Yes, the best part here is that the listings go up quickly and they also go down quickly as well. So, but basically the restricted keywords are tied to restricted products on Amazon. So when you check the restricted product lists, anything related to those products may also contain keywords that are restricted on Amazon.
So let's talk about why the keywords might be restricted. And there's a couple of different scenarios. One is the keywords relate to products that are prohibited on Amazon. So weapons,
drugs.
Yeah, any like drug-related drugs. Let's say in the sexual health category as well. That's sort of a gated area that you have to, like as a user, you have to manually turn that on in your settings and say, yes, I do want to see adult products. So anything that has like adult sort of keywords will potentially move you into that category so that most people don't see it. And then there's hazardous materials as well, where Amazon will pick up that your product has some kind of chemical in it or something that might be hazardous based on the keywords that you put in it. And then they'll not allow you to send that product into FBA, or they might suspend it for a period while they investigate it. Yeah. Are those the scenarios that you're familiar with?
Yeah, basically Amazon is protecting the customer as well as themselves. So they don't want a dangerous product at their warehouse, and they don't want a customer, laying their hands on a product from Amazon that's actually restricted. So this goes back to Amazon not wanting any negative publicity with the customers as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, they've had negative publicity with dangerous products in the past. Like the most notable example I can think of is hoverboards. When hoverboards were popular 2-3 years ago, once it was discovered that they were a big safety risk and they were blowing up and injuring people, Amazon just prohibited any kind of hoverboard on the platform, and anything with probably any product with hoverboard in the keywords probably got suspended for a period of time as well. So that was a really big one, and there's probably been smaller incidences related to, sometimes there's a product safety issue discovered with toys for kids. If they, contain really small parts and things like that, that'll lead to products being suspended if there's a safety risk. But what we're talking about here is these really big sort of systemic sweeps of product information to check for keywords that could indicate to Amazon that a product is dangerous or harmful in some way.
When talking about these keyword detections from them, basically if it's an existing listing and you put a keyword, they detect it and put down the listing. But for example, if you are having a product that contains keywords that Amazon might see as hazardous, then they will allow you to list that product as an FBM product, so fulfilled by merchant.
Right.
But if you want to send it to Amazon warehouse and do FBA, the first thing when converting the product from FBM to FBA, if they detect any keywords that are related to, chemicals or batteries, they will ask for MSDS sheets right from the beginning. So if you don't provide those, you don't get to convert the listing to FBA.
Batteries is a good one. I didn't think of that immediately, but is it the lithium ion batteries that if your product contains that, then it needs to be, it's considered hazardous and it needs to go to a special warehouse and everything? Actually,
Amazon is obsessed by any type of battery. So anything that can explode in their mind or, what they feel could be a hazardous material, they just, put it under hazmat. So I think that last year they started like acting crazy on anything related to batteries. And we've had like 6 months of struggling with hazmat reviews only.
What about vendors? Because are vendors treated differently? So if you're selling on Vendor Central, and is there a different process? Because you mentioned when you're using FBA as a seller, then you'll get stopped in the shipment process. What about vendors? If you have something with the battery, for example?
Basically, they won't allow you to create a listing unless you provide an MSDS from the start. And for products that have already been listed and haven't been submitted with MSDS, for example, if the listing was created 3 years ago, when the MSDS sheets weren't as that important, they will ask you later on through a case. But what they sometimes do, they just take down the listing and they never tell you what's going on. So when you create a case with vendor support, they tell you this product has been taken down because it's hazmat. And you have a vendor on the other side that actually has the certificate and the sheets and everything, but they were never notified that they needed to submit those.
Right. Tricky. So would you basically advise any manufacturer with the product that needs batteries not to include the batteries?
It's okay, but you just have to have all the necessary documentation. So if you don't have it, try to exclude the batteries. Yeah.
Right. So what are some other examples here around restricted keywords tied to restricted products? And you mentioned you don't always know what keyword is going to trigger things. So what are some products that we've come across at BOBSLED, which are sort of gray area? Amazon doesn't really love to have them on the platform. They're not specifically prohibited potentially, but you need to be really careful about what keywords you're using, and it opens up a whole new series of consequences and workarounds that you need to do. What are some of those tricky product categories you've seen?
Yeah, one of the biggest categories in this gray area are self-defense products. So things like pepper sprays, stun guns, batons. These are actually allowed for sale. But, when you want to list these products as a new seller, you are not allowed. So only the sellers that are currently listing these products are allowed to sell them. And then other issues we've been having with these products is that you're not able to advertise them. So even though you are allowed to sell them, you cannot put an ad on Amazon for that product, or you're not at all, or you're not able to promote it, for example, with a coupon or flash sale or something like that.
Right. Do you also need to be careful with keywords as well, like you mentioned before?
So one of the things we've noticed is that, for example, every listing that has baton in like anywhere in the front end, titles, bullets, descriptions, the listings get taken down randomly. And then Amazon will ask for a product declaration document that states that the specific product isn't a weapon. And what we found as a walk-around is that we can use synonyms. So instead of baton, we can use, for example, word nightstick. But, it automatically decreases the number of searches for the word because, Amazon customers are most used using batons.
Tricky. That's a difficult scenario to get around if that's your brand, if those are your products. And I think that's one of the things that we want to highlight here is that if you have a brand in one of those categories, such as personal defense, I'll give another example in a moment, but it can be difficult to get traction on Amazon in those categories and maintain it because keep sort of shifting their sensitivity around it. So sometimes it'll be okay, and then there'll be some change in how they feel about it, and take those products down for a while as well. So this is going to be a long-standing challenge for your brand if you're in one of these categories. There's not a whole lot of sympathy you're going to get from Amazon if you try and convince them that your product isn't hazardous. It's not a weapon you're going to need to keep proving over and over again the safety of your products.
Yeah, it's very time consuming. I sometimes feel that it's not worth investing too much money and time into products that in this category if you're only selling on Amazon, because eventually these products are not going to be allowed for sale on Amazon. At some point of time, it will happen.
Yeah, well, here's the other example I was thinking of, and here's where I could see actually the situation could reverse over time, and the question will be how much time. But recently I was asked about a product which I didn't know this existed, but CBD water. So one of the derivatives from cannabis that's, legal, it's doesn't give any psychoactive effects, but, it's good for some health reason. I'm not 100% sure, but CBD water. So I looked on Amazon. There were products that once I looked at their e-commerce site, or I Googled that brand and product, I could see it was being marketed as CBD water. But on Amazon, they didn't use anything, like no keyword CBD related on Amazon, because obviously that's one of these keywords that Amazon doesn't like. And they've been either suspending or sort of banning those products. So everything that I saw was hemp, water, beverage, whatever, didn't include anything related to CBD. But Amazon's sort of ranking algorithm isn't just based on the keywords that are in your product listing and backend explicitly. It also happens, like I was searching for CBD water. If I found a product and I bought it, Amazon's still indexing that product for the keyword CBD water because customers are searching for it and buying it based on those keywords. So in that situation, it depends on a lot of things related to laws in every state, but I could see over time if, Amazon's attitude towards that type of product may change as the laws in the rest of the country change. But that's another example which was interesting to me because those products didn't have any of those keywords. Everyone was avoiding saying CBD. And that's something that it may change either way over time, I guess. Yeah,
and it's funny how Amazon's algorithm works because, for example, if many people search for CBD water and buy that product, the same product you saw, it will get an Amazon's choice badge for the CBD water keyword. And the keyword itself is banned, so it's hilarious.
Alexa will tell, if you ask Alexa, which brand of CBD water should I buy on Amazon, she'll tell you she'll tell you the product. That's funny. Okay, well, anything else to add on this topic, Armin, around keywords and sensitive products?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add is about the detection part. Sometimes it's computer or a bot detecting the product. But for example, when we create cases for suspended products and we want to get them back live, it will be an entry-level person examining the case. Mm-hmm. And based on their opinion, whether the product, for example, is a weapon or not, is it harmful or not, they will decide the fate of the product if it will go live on Amazon or not.
Yes, you can't always assume that the people reviewing your case are all that informed about your product and what it is and what it isn't. Great. Well, thank you for coming back on the show, Armin. Great to have you back. And you're going to be back on the podcast for your final episode in this sort of Armin series. What a high product return rate means on Amazon. So looking forward to getting into that topic next time.
Thank you, Kiri. See you next time.
Okay, so Julie, that was honestly, I didn't think that we'd have so much to talk about with the keyword prohibiting episode, but I think what this is a platform for is a bigger conversation about this. A lot of brands are selling products that are never going to have an issue with being on Amazon unless they incorrectly categorize something as hazardous. So apparel, a lot of electronics, food, toys, sometimes they'll get picked up because they have batteries or maybe a potentially flammable material or something like that. And all of those things, if you have a good handle on your manufacturing process and you have safety data sheets and things like that, those are all relatively easy to respond to. But there is many categories of products which are kind of in this gray area on Amazon, which frankly, you're always going to be on an uphill battle with Amazon proving that your product is safe or, is not a weapon or is not, drug related. And these sort of fringe cases that Armin and I talked about, personal defense and CBD water, and there's many other kinds of examples here. But just due to the nature of the way that Amazon works and the way that they want to be perceived in the market, you're always going to be battling them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Armin cited one tactic to employ in your battle is trying to find synonyms for your product as a workaround so you can get the advertising going. And I think it's a creative solution, but it only is successful as long as that synonym isn't flagged. And then the question is how long until that synonym is flagged? So it goes back to the bigger question of, is Amazon the right platform for that particular product type? Right. If it's a constant battle of proving the safety of your product through a specific keyword, then perhaps Amazon's not the right platform. Can't believe that those are words uttered on this podcast. But
no, it's a really good point. And it's sometimes the truth hurts. But if you compare the time and effort and money you would spend trying to get ahead on Amazon, you look at other alternative channels, like you can still advertise for those key terms on Google, for example. You search for CBD water, you can advertise for that term. You have a chance of optimizing for SEO with those terms. And if that is a core feature of your product, like CBD water, the whole point of it is that it has CBD in it, but you can't say that on Amazon, then what's the point? If you could go and optimize for those keywords on Google and you could run a really great social media campaign and you're able to explain the features of your benefits of your product fully, but you can't do that on Amazon, then you kind of need to question whether it's the right platform for you, like you said. Yeah,
absolutely. Because the costs associated when you come to the realization that maybe Amazon isn't right, think of inventory you might have stranded in a warehouse. Think of the fees that you're paying on that inventory storage and all of that as you're sitting there with a suppressed listing because Amazon did a sweep and targeted your primary keywords.
Right.
It's really important to have take the time to develop a realistic view about whether or not Amazon provides the opportunity you think it would for your product type if it falls in one of those tricky categories.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that if we separate that out, there's some categories which are always going to have issues. And then there's other categories where it happens to couldn't say almost everyone, but to a huge number of sellers and vendors where a product is incorrectly flagged as hazmat. That's a little different. And we did get into that a little bit about what to do there. But those are sort of the two categories of keyword sort of restrictions and sweeps, like you said at the start of the episode, to think about and be prepared for. But if you're in that second category, a little bit more thought around the long-term sustainability of your brand on Amazon is probably the takeaway here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because just because you have a product that's going to get flagged for hazmat doesn't mean that Amazon's not the right platform. Yeah, like you said, there are some that will get flagged. You just submit the right paperwork. You go through the due diligence of seeing the case through. It can take time. It can be frustrating. That doesn't mean that Amazon's not the right platform. There's a distinction between that and then the other categories where the actual keywords are flagged because it's prohibited in a category that includes prohibited products.
All right.
It's good to keep that distinction in mind.
Good stuff. Well, let's leave it there. And we're back again next week with another interview with Armin, which is going to be around product returns. So I'll see you then, Julie.
Sounds good. Bye, Kiri.